Perfect. Super. Welcome back to the afternoon session. Thanks for joining us, for staying with us. We got two more fantastic presentations lined up this afternoon before our closing keynote with Professor Dr. Pollard, who you just saw as well. And first presentation is by Tim Coughlin. He's President and CEO of Royal Road Minerals, a company I've been following quite closely in South America. Really excited to see what you're doing and hearing progress update. Tim, thanks so much.
Thank you. Am I mic'd? Yes, I'm mic'd. Okay, thanks, Kai, and thanks for all the hard work putting on this event. So 15 minutes, so I'll flick through this pretty quickly because I sort of enjoy the questions at the end, if we can get to a few. I've had the pleasure to sit through quite a few presentations today, and so I feel a little bit compelled to explain why we're different. And that really comes down to what we do. So many years ago, our group started life working with the IFC, which you'll know is the equity investment arm of the World Bank, and also the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, working mostly in post-conflict environments where new discoveries, and we're focused on discovering new ore deposits, help to decentralize conflict-damaged communities and reconstruct very sensitive rural communities. And so that's why you'll see things are slightly different in our presentation to and not necessarily entirely focused on drills and metals, but we have for obvious reasons, given that background, we're quite proud of our ESG initiatives. And we also punch a bit high, a little bit higher in respect of our relationship with politicians and government. And so we're signatories of what the British government calls its Business and Peace Initiative, which we deploy in Colombia, which is one of the environments that we work in. And we also have an advisory board comprised of guys with backgrounds that are mostly secret. And that sort of helps us deal in some of the environments that we work in. So where do we work? We work in Nicaragua and we work in Colombia. So in Nicaragua, we're a 50-50 strategic alliance with actually a Colombian company called Mineros. They're producing gold at a gold mine called Bonanza up in the northeast of the country. Everything else we do, 50-50. It's about a straight 50-50 type deal you could imagine in Nicaragua. In Colombia, we have two blocks that we work in, and they're entirely different. So the northern block is what's called the Middle Cauca Valley. That's had about 50 million ounces of discoveries in the last 10 or 15 years. And the southern block is a highly prospective stretch of the Andes in the provinces of Cauca and Nariño, but incredibly problematic. It's an environment that, everything you recall from your narco movies on Netflix, well, that's what we've got down there. So we treat that a little bit differently. The northern block is pretty much a fairly traditional exploration environment with the normal sort of risks, as is Nicaragua. The southern block is completely different, but the reward is spectacular. Okay, so what's our model? We're explorers. Our idea is to find these assets, develop them, build up the social license structure, and then transfer them on. So Agnico Eagle own just under 20% of us, so they're an obvious partner really for the gold assets. And we're held by about another 15 institutions. We're almost free float's kind of low on the retail side. So I think probably because of what we do. This is a complicated triangle, and I apologize for it, but basically what we have to do as an exploration company is move projects through this development triangle and off the top and out again. So we've just done that recently. We were drilling a skarn gold deposit that we discovered in Nicaragua. We sold that just recently for $22.5 million US, and that money goes back into the exploration investment. So Canadian dollar terms, in terms of the treasury, we've got about 34 million Canadian dollars. And as you can see, a whole bunch of projects moving up through that development triangle. I'm just going to talk about the ones that we're drilling right now. This one we're drilling up in northeastern Nicaragua. It's called Caribe. Completely new discovery. So there's no outcrop, as I'm trying to convey in that photograph of that house. It was discovered as a boulder sitting on top of saprolite, so weathered rock, which ran 3.5 grams. That was back in 2018. And since then, we've drilled about 4,000 meters into it. And as you can see, it's developing quite nicely with some good long intersections of sort of oxide breccia. Difficult one to figure out still, given that there's no outcrop, but we're starting to get a head around it now. We're drilling this currently. This is in Colombia. It's in what we call our northern block, Novengo. There's not much I can say about this. There are some announcements coming out in December. I can say that we are very, very excited by it. We've intersected the porphyry with gold and copper in it, and I'm just going to leave it there. But this is going to, I think, become a significant focus for us moving forward. Margaritas is a gold project just south of that. It's very high-grade gold, so we're literally starting to define a district here. It's called the Guinta district up in northern Colombia. We're drilling this, which is the Los Andes project in Nicaragua. We're the largest title holders, by the way, and we've got probably more projects than most of the companies that you've heard of in both Nicaragua and Colombia, because this is what we do. So we take a big land package, we develop projects up through that development triangle. They either make it or they don't. So this one's looking pretty interesting. It's a porphyry sitting around a ring fracture, so it's a copper gold porphyry that we're currently drilling. And then I've moved now down to southern Colombia, and this is pretty much an entire gold field that we own under title. And you can see that's gold, that's coarse gold. It's called the La Llanada gold field. It's quite famous for how rich these gold veins are. It's also famous for all sorts of other delinquent type things. So such as guerrillas, that you get that sort of free gold. You're going to finish up with a lot of illegal gold miners. So it's been a tough place for us to work. We've been there for a long time. One of the things we're doing in terms of releasing some of this social tension in this part of the world is formalizing informal miners. So basically what we do is we give them a piece of our title. We say it's theirs. They then owe us a 3% royalty from their production. And I have to point out that that Gualtal project is actually illegal, producing 60,000 ounces a year. And then we get the option to go back in and explore what was originally our gold. That's southern Colombia. So it's been sort of a neat way of getting around this informal illegal mining, making them legal. The agreements, signing agreements with the miners is fairly straightforward. Getting the government to come along, and this is one of the challenges in Colombia, has been really hard. So these agreements we signed 2.5 years ago, and it's only now that the government's starting to ink, their pieces of paper and make this a reality. Okay, and I'm just going to zoom out now and then hopefully wrap up in time for some questions. This just gives you an idea of our tenement holdings in Colombia. So it's a big, big land package. We own pretty much all that southern porphyry belt. You can see Cascabel down there. Like I said, I'm not going to try and pull the wool over your eyes here. That's a difficult part of the world to work in. But we have been there for a long time, and we are advancing. We're advancing particularly in El Molino, where we're just about to start a mag survey. And of course, up in the northern block there, I've already mentioned what we're drilling right now, Guinta Novengo, which is looking pretty interesting. You'll hear more about that in December. Nicaragua, we're drilling at Caribe over there in the northeast, drilling down at Los Andes down there in the south, and we'll be drilling at Oro Fino up there in the northeast next year as well. Okay, ESG. So, like I said, we're signatories to the British Embassy's Business and Peace Initiative. We have an agreement with a group called Ecomoon, which is a cooperative comprised of ex-FARC guerrillas in Colombia. We build coffee plants. We do all sorts of the normal stuff, but this is something a lot of companies don't do. So I thought I'd take the opportunity to just very quickly walk you through it. We have an accelerator, and it's essentially like a venture capital fund for our communities. If we define a project very brutally that we think can be economic and we'll make it, then we'll invest in it, and we'll bring that project, we'll bring in other investors, and we'll make a real sustainable business out of some aspect of our communities, of the community's surroundings. So in Nariño, that one, Chloris, that's a CBD project. There's 14,000 plants in that in southern Colombia. It employs ex-guerrillas and displaced people. There are 7 million internally displaced people in Colombia. And it's got 80 odd shareholders now, about $4 million spent into it, and there's Israeli companies about to invest in it and take it forward. Quasi is a plant in Nicaragua. It produces its own bioinsecticide, which we're refining and developing to help kill what's called the varroa mite, which kills bees, and also makes a pretty good tonic for your gin and tonic. So there's some of those projects. A little bit about the board, very quickly, just to give you sort of this ESG focus. Raul Farfan and Ana Juarez, both of those are sustainability experts. Raul was with Newmont and also at Antamina. That's the share structure. So our market cap is around about 70, 80 odd million dollars. As I said, we've got 30 odd million bucks in the bank, $32 million. Larger shareholders, and there's some research there from Sprott. And I've left a few minutes for questions.
Fantastic. I'll start us off with a question, actually. Tim, some more about the exploration budgets. How much are you spending this year? And what are you spending on?
Okay.
Where does the money go?
Right. So, I mean, all exploration budgets are results dependent. So we think we'll be drilling about $10 million. We think we'll be drilling 10,000 meters at Caribe next year, and we believe we'll be drilling about the same at Guinta Novengo. So they're 50-50 JVs. So each of those are around about so $3.5 million US dollars on our behalf, basically, and then advancing the other projects. So we've probably got about an $8 to $10 million budget ahead of us next year.
That's
Canadian.
Fantastic. Yeah. How much are you spending on ESG?
On ESG, so the accelerator. The thing about the accelerator is that's self-sustaining, and that's why we've developed it. So as projects move through the accelerator, they refund the accelerator, so we sell our shares in them, and it gets reinvested and moved on. Elsewhere in ESG, I'd have to say sort of percent of budget, somewhere in the order of 10 to 15%.
Okay. No, I find it interesting because I always send everybody who asks me about ESG, well, take a look at Royal Road.
Yeah.
So you guys run a perfect program out there in Middle and South, or Central and South America. So
We sort of have to.
Well, it helps. Do we have any questions from the audience before I continue? Oh, we do have one back there.
Being involved in this part of the world, do you like kind of lobbying, or are you like involved in politics or with government people in order to, like, if there's backfire in operations, in order to have kind of a backup of people that could support you?
They will be the last people to support you. Okay, so you've got to be very careful how you treat your relationship with government. I sort of treat it a similar way as you might think about a satellite in orbit. You get too close to orbit, you get stuck in there for a while, and then eventually you crash. So you've got to sort of stay. We deal more so, and we've learnt this elsewhere. We deal more so with our communities and with the international community, and specifically in Colombia. The problem with Colombia right now is that it had a Santos government which pushed the peace process through in 2016, and immediately elected a Duque government which was against and had campaigned against the peace agreement, and so you ended up with a peace agreement that had no support at governmental level. So we've been very careful because we aligned ourselves with the peace agreement through the British Embassy. We're very careful how we deal with government as it currently is. But I would say, in almost all instances, you're better off dealing with your communities and working from the bottom up in terms of developing support in whatever that capital may be. Sometimes that doesn't work, but getting involved in endless meetings with government, can really burn executive time and budget. Yeah, Southern Colombia, not so much in the north, but Colombia entirely. Nicaragua is fine, I might add, but Colombia entirely is a security issue, and almost completely related to drugs. So Southern Colombia more so, way more so than Northern Colombia, and so you can see that the ways that we try and get around that is by diffusing initially any of the social issues, like formalizing these informal miners. The reality is that anybody involved in illicit business or anyone involved in some paramilitary or armed Marxist movement, if you like, they need the support of those communities to keep them safe. So if we can also build in that support of the communities, and the communities will oftentimes, and we've just done this with an Afro-Indigenous community in El Molino, will then bring us into their community and push those guys away as best as they can. Or around is probably the best way. Push them around is probably a better way of putting it. You're not going to push them away. Yeah.
Fantastic. Tim, thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
As always, very insightful. Appreciate it.